Thank you. Next, we'll move on to item 3, adoption of the agenda. I'll take a motion to adopt.
So moved. Support.
Motion from Dana, support from Megan. Comments, questions, changes to the agenda? All right, hearing and seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Agenda is adopted. Next, we'll move on to hearing of the public. Anybody from the public wishing to address this board, come on up. You have 5 minutes. Give us your name.
I am not used to this crap.
No, you're not. Right here. My name is Ellen Taylor, and this is my daughter, Kelsey. We have been working with our supports coordination company for the last year to find a group home. We have made complaints, we have cajoled, we have done lots of things, and ultimately, we've decided to change supports coordination companies. The other thing that we learned in the process of all of this is that there is no adult respite overnight in Macomb County. I called last year when we went to my nephew's wedding in Seattle for a week. We had to have one of our daughters, stay home with her sister. So I don't know that anybody else has made that complaint or made you aware of the things that are affecting the families that you work for. So I don't know that I'm looking for an answer particularly from you folks, but I just wanted you to be aware that the families who use your services are struggling. Do you have anything to say?
I guess my thing is,
Come over here so you can talk right there.
with ones and the ones that's been struggling for so long, I don't know what to do anymore. I just want what my mommy wants. I want a home.
Thank you. You can go sit down. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else from the public wishing to speak? Anybody else? All right, we'll close the first hearing of the public. There is another opportunity before the end of the meeting if Lisa wants to get up and address us. We will move on to item 5, minutes. I will take a motion to approve the minutes of the CMH full board meeting held on Wednesday, September 25th, 2024, and the minutes of the CMH special full board meeting held on Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. Motion from Donna, support from Antoinette. Any changes or comments about the minutes? Okay, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Minutes are adopted. Next, we'll move on to item 6, which is approval of the standing committee meeting minutes of the Program and Budget Committee meeting held on Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. I'll take a motion to adopt. Support. Motion from Mark, support from Lori. Changes to those, comments on those minutes? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Those minutes are adopted. Next, we'll move on to item 7. I will take a motion to approve items 7A through F. We discussed all of these in program and budget.
So moved.
Support. Motion from Megan, support from Lori. Were there any questions or comments on any of these items? Any items to be voted on separately? Okay, hearing and seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Next, we'll move on to item 8, receiving file. We have no items there. Item 9 is resolutions, no items there either. Move on to item 10, the voucher listings. I'll take a motion to pay the bills. Motion from Antoinette, support from Mark. Comments or questions on the bills? Okay, hearing and seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Bills are paid. And we'll move on to item 11, management report. We will start with the CFO update with Ken. Go ahead, Ken.
Good evening, everybody. I'll start by going through the financials. If we flip to page 2, which I think is maybe 105 in the packet, you can see our revenue and eligibles trends that we usually have If we look at the July and August numbers, we expected those to largely level off for the eligibles. We had a slight tick downward, but that's not terribly concerning, but we expect going forward for it to be fairly leveled off as the effects of the PHE ending have been fully realized, if you will, at this point. Flipping to page, I'm going to flip to page 5, where we have our funding source. I did make some adjustments to this slightly. It doesn't change the information, but how it's presented is we showed what we're redirecting out of our quote-unquote normal capitation for Medicaid and H&P down to the CCBHC line. As you can see, we're running a surplus in both Medicaid and Healthy Michigan through this point, even with the CCBHC redirects. So that's good news, and that kind of continues forward. If we look at the CCBHC Medicaid and Healthy Michigan, which are the third and fourth boxes there, you can see we have roughly a $12 million surplus that we're running in those programs. Again, that's through this fiscal year. Our PPS 1 rate is going down in fiscal 25, which is to be expected. But that represents our position through this year. And again, at the bottom there, you'll see our ISF number is based on the current fiscal 24 contract language and our interpretation thereof, and then our fully funded savings as well. If we go to page 6, you can see here, we did receive our general fund specific allocation during August. That amount is $351,683. You can see, and this is just through August, so we'll have another month of expense, that we have roughly $4 million of expense. So quite a mismatch there between what we're funded and what our expenses are. It is offset against the surplus that we're running on the Medicaid side. So from a financial perspective, the program is viable in that regard. Our state general fund, if you go down to the next box, you can see if that was a standalone funding source, we're actually running a small surplus there, which is good. We put our negative CCBHC, if we can call it that, into that program. So when you factor all of them together, we're running about a $3 million loss overall for our general fund source. But you can see down at the bottom, that's kind of our bottom line number, looking at putting about $1 million into fund balance at the end of the day. So again, those are our numbers through August. Year's almost complete. As a reminder, next month, our interim FSR is due on November 10th. So that's kind of our first guess at the complete picture of the year. So we should have a really good idea of what our lapse numbers are. And there's some stability payments and other things that's been approved by this board that aren't reflected in the expense numbers as we paid them in September. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of those big things that are coming through in the September financials. So these numbers are expected to change significantly, but not so much so that it puts us in a deficit position. Page 7, and the rest of the financials, frankly, I don't think anything in here is more noteworthy than it has been in other months. If there's specific questions, I'm happy to answer them, but I do have a couple of just narrative type items that I can go through. There's no questions on the financials.
Any questions for Ken? I have an audit question.
That was on my list, Phil.
Perfect. Well, then I will wait.
And I'll get into it right now. We received a number of items from the auditors late last week. We've worked through them largely. We have one open item that's a challenge. It's a reconciling item that we have with the county. So Tony, myself, and Chris from our team spent at least 2 hours over there today working through that. We came up with a response to the auditors. I think it's a reasonable response. As far as I know, we're waiting to see what that is. County finance is working that with them. We do have an extension. So just as a reminder, our compliance exam report is contingent upon the county's ACFR being issued. Our auditors won't sign a report without being able to tie into a final financial statement. So once the ACFR is issued, we can issue our compliance exam report. We have an extension right now through October 31st. So the last date I heard tentatively is that the county's looking to issue on Friday. So I've primed our compliance auditors for all, do we have everything we need and that kind of stuff to get that going. So hopefully we can turn that around fairly quickly and get our report in by that deadline. So that's what we're operating under right now. Any questions about that?
I just want to thank the whole team for the quick response. There were a lot of questions that you guys were peppered with, a lot of information that they wanted, and the fact that you guys got through it in as short of a time as you did is commendable. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a credit to the team and in particular Chris on the finance team. She cranked through a lot of those requests. It's in her wheelhouse, and she looked at the detail and identified some of these reconciling things. So, shout out to her on that. And I had a second thing written, but that was the interim FSR. I already covered that, so I think.
Donna? Donna, can you turn your microphone on, please?
It's usually always on. I'm wondering, we didn't sign the state contract. I'm wondering if we were issued our October check.
Yes, we received a payment on October 10th, I believe. So it was right after program and budget, I want to say. So we verified, hit our account, hit our EMR. We should have another payment coming late next week, which is kind of the big one, if you will, our Medicaid capitation and HMP. So
May I also add, Donna, they put in writing that they would pay and they would continue to pay.
Thanks, Donna. Any other questions or comments?
Can I just add the consequences of not submitting this audit? This is our third or fourth extension from the state. So playing out worst case scenario, we're optimistic that we hope to have it on or before the 31st. If not, the state of Michigan can take and keep and not return up to $200,000. We would also be in direct violation of our contract. So I guess I'm just pointing out that because this is for 2023.
So we do have we're a 930 fund. The county is on a 1231 basis. So there's kind of a natural lag there of 3 months. And then, as we talked about, workday and some other things. So.
And I will be checking on Friday.
Yeah.
Because I was asking Commissioner Sabatini about that earlier today, and our staff at the Board of Commissioners, what's the latest? And I hadn't even heard that yet, so that's good to know. Megan?
I was just gonna ask that if the county knows not just that it's a deadline, but that there's like teeth to it. And I'm making deep eye contact.
Several of us have reiterated that multiple times.
Okay.
And
Understood.
It is not new news to the
Sure.
county.
Thank you.
And I have also shared those
Okay.
concerns multiple
Understood.
times.
I was just going to say, to credit to county finance, they did send a narrative to the state about the situation, and they're aware of the consequence. Yeah.
They have been definitely diligently working at it.
Yes.
Any other questions, comments for Ken? Okay,
Thanks, everybody.
thank you. Next, I'll turn it over to the CEO update with Tracy.
So Ken just covered one of my items, which is also in your board report. But I wanted to start with Drew. If Drew could come up and introduce himself, if that's okay, Drew. I don't know if I told you that part, but just take a couple minutes and they would, I don't know, to get to know you just a little bit better, if that's okay, Drew.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Drew Vandegrift. I'm a recent hire in the Department of Corporation Counsel, and I'm proud to be your attorney. It's a beautiful evening in PIHP Region Number 9, and my biggest goal is I want to be of use to you. And the reason I wanted this job is because you do good work, and I would like to be a part of it. So please let me know that the ways that I can help, in addition to any ways that are obvious. And I look forward to an opportunity to meet each of you as in the fullness of time. And thank you for the warm welcome that I've received from Tracy and her staff. And I look forward to speaking with you in the future. And thank you again.
On that note of Corporation Council, each of you had received a board report, and thank you, Drew, regarding our PHP contract. We are, we're notified today of their most recent response. We are going to continue to work with Drew and Corporation Council, outside counsel, and explore all our other options. As soon as we get additional information, we would be happy to further explore that, and we recommend that that is the avenue for us to pursue our next step. Outside of that, a quick updates is Ken alluded to this also, the Medicaid enrollments. So overall, Macomb is actually still in a good place in the way that if you tried to simplify it at a very, very high level, Macomb has more people enrolled in Medicaid than it did now than it did pre-pandemic, at least as of this moment in time, right? And then, as you know, the rates over time have increased. Therefore, financially, from a straight up, how many people enrolled and the money receiving, we're in a better place than we were. Now, there's disclaimers to that, and that is there are large groups of people, not just in Macomb, but other counties or regions that are really show what they be DAB enrollments. You've heard us mention that in the past, disabled, aged, and blind. And I'm sure you can put the two and two together. If I'm disabled, aged, or blind, aged at the minimum, that's not going to change, right? Or it's not going to get less. And I heard somebody joke around it. If somebody does know how to do that, that would be amazing, and they should share that information. But it's, and I'm going to explain it in simple terms. I know that you guys have heard this in the past, but it's easier and quicker to enroll in the more simple plans. So the theory is people aren't, because you have to submit less paperwork, it doesn't take as much time, so they're submitting less. As an example, I received a phone call today from a sister of somebody, and they were complaining because their sister, who needed behavioral health services, was put onto the parent plan, which is the simplest one. It's really designed for somebody who's either pregnant or has a young child. She's nor pregnant nor has a young child. So she's trying to get behavioral services. That plan does not provide behavioral services. So we talked about how we can get our services, but part of the conversation was also, well, we really need to get you on the right, your sister on the right plan. So let's get you connected with DHS, because it sounds like there's just a lack of understanding there. So it's occurring still. So although we are financially in a good place, we still need to continue to advocate, to educate the community to how to access the right resources, even though sometimes it can be more challenging to get to those resources. And just as a friendly reminder, because we are a CCBHC and all those things, the person that I'm mentioning as an example, we would still serve them. Does that make sense? But we also want to maximize our funding, and we also want to make people have full access to what they should have access to. Moving on to the next one is, let's do the last one, which would be a little bit more fun. If you missed the pictures and the workforce update, we had our Trunk or Treat movie event last night. It was great. I think we had the highest attendance. I want to say 120, 130. Yeah, we had good, and we actually were expecting a little bit more than that. There are several people who are here. We're at the event. It's always a great event. Just a reminder, it is definitely for fun, but we also give out core values awards, and we also give out the Smiley Awards and the Site Awards. It's pretty quick. So if you already haven't checked it out, if you could make sure to check out the workforce update, because you'll see the winners, you'll see pictures and that type of thing. One of the exciting things is we actually have a second time winner. So in other words, they got more than one. So now our hope is that we can, create like a Michael Phelps scenario where somebody gets the most. Sure. Like after 10 years, you have the most medals or the most whatever it is. And it was very, very great. Helen announced them. She did a great job. It was nice because some of the staff members, if you pay attention, their pictures, they were very teary-eyed that they were being acknowledged. And I don't know about you guys, but I love that. Our staff do, on a daily basis, very, very hard jobs. So we want to make sure that we take every effort we can to recognize them for their diligent work. And I am going to end on that positive note, but I welcome anybody's questions.
Any questions for Tracy? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to other possible agenda items. I have a few reminders. First, which is not listed, is the Metro Region meeting tomorrow night. It's virtual. full virtual, starting at 6. Also, we will have program and budget for November on the 13th at 6 o'clock here. And the full board will be on Tuesday, November 26th, 2024, because of Thanksgiving. And other than that, does anybody else have any other comments, anything else they'd like to share for the other group? Okay, pretty quiet, pretty quick. It's been a long week of meetings, so this is great. Provider comments. Any providers wishing to address the board? Any providers? Okay, we'll move on to the final hearing of the public. Anybody from the public wishing to speak? Anybody from the public? All right, close that, and we'll take a motion to adjourn. Motion from Megan, support from Antoinette. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? We are adjourned.